Islamophobia is a type of racism, that the government needs to accept that definition, and that it doesn't undermine free speech. And now he's in government, the Labour government has a huge majority. It's really, really weak that he's not actually willing to come down and implement the work that he actually led in Parliament.
Yeah, well, what you flagged up there actually is something I wanted to ask you about, Rajiv. We have an issue here where there is the possibility of any sort of definition here, trying to define Islamophobia. You're conflating both Islamophobia and racism.
Well, I think we've all agreed on one thing. Islamophobia is a huge and ever-growing evil in this country, and I think it's a serious threat to the social fabric of this country. So, at points over the last few years, it has accounted for about half of religious hate crimes. So clearly something needs to change. I think, frankly, we're failing Muslim communities and Muslim people. I'm not sure, however, and I mean that quite literally, I'm not saying that I don't think this is the case, but I'm not sure that the way to better address Islamophobia is through further definitions and legislation. For one thing, we have, several laws in place that already codify religious hate speech, crimes or offences, whether it's the Public Order Act, the Equality Act. And I think that as far as possible, we should be going back to those already existing laws so that we make sure we treat different religious groups and communities equally, and that we don't end up in a situation where we have totally different definitions for hate crimes towards different groups, which are then differently administered, and we end up with a hierarchy of religions. There's another problem, I think, with opening up discussion to further legislation and definition, which is that sadly you open up also to groups that claim to represent communities but are actually operating in bad faith. For example, and I'm speaking about my own community here, sadly, of Hindus, there is a massive movement of Hindutva, Hindu nationalism, Hindu supremacy, which is, speak very bluntly, has radicalized a lot of the Hindu community. So Islamophobia, so just to make...
well, look, just to be clear, obviously none of those organisations are here to defend themselves. And, I know that, Jack, you were nodding along at some of the points